Welcome, WagerTalk, groupies, visitors, patrons, clients, whatever and whoever you are and want to be called. We'll worry about that later. We're going to talk about Faded with Finn. I am your host, Tony Finn. Does that make sense? The show Faded with Finn, and most of you have probably watched this before. This is where we pick or choose or cipher, assess the schedule, and choose two teams that we're going to fade. And I sell the fade as opposed to selling why a team should be played on. Everyone wants to find a team to play on. This show, we find two to play against. Last 2 weeks, we've been pretty good, 2-0. 2 weeks ago, 2-0 last week. We're on a 4-0 run. Let's see if we can't finish the season out the last 4 weeks of the regular season. 8-0, and that makes us 12-0 for a close, which would be pretty good because we've been really pedestrian all year long. I had an earlier 2-0 and 1 week, and 0-2 1 week, and for the most part, we've been kissing relatives, kissing our sisters, kissing our cousins. Been 1-1 almost every single week. So let's go. Guests for today's show. The guests are Detroit Lions, Chicago Bears. I think some will be surprised that we're going to fade the Lions at a team that's won 5 of the last 6, covered all 6. 1 month ago, they were playing the worst team with the worst record and the worst metrics in the NFC, and the Lions were +3. They were the dog against this team. I'm talking about the Chicago Bears. They have now been, like last week, they're favored against a 10-1 team, right? 10-1 Minnesota Vikings, who are now 10-2. The market is volatile, and these little things give you a really good idea about how sportsbooks set the line, how to read the line, and that's a whole different program. And maybe someday I'll sit down and figure out how I can talk about how to read a line and how do you know if it's public money to short money, et cetera, et cetera. But we're going to talk about why we're going to fade the Detroit Lions. And part of it was that this team is playing a little bit above their pay grade, above their skill set. And that's okay. It happens every year. Somebody plays better than they should. Somebody plays less than. In this case, this is a tough situation for Detroit. It's a really bad spot. Again, winners of 5 of 6, covered 6 straight, high on the hog, right? They leave the comforts of Ford Field and head out to the Meadowlands or out to Jersey at MetLife, which we used to call the Meadowlands. They don't call it that anymore. And it's going to be cold outdoors. It's going to be windy. It's not what golf and this team want to do. First and foremost, this Detroit Lions team has been successful. This run of success, they've got some really good play from a stable of running backs that's very capable. But it's been Goff and how efficient he's been through the air, throwing the football, and that's not going to happen this weekend against the best secondary in the National Football Game, that being the Jets. Now, the fact is, this is a pick'em game is a benefit for those who like it, who support the Jets, which is what we're doing essentially. By fading Detroit, we're going to support the Jets, and we're going to get it. We don't have to play added juice. We don't have to lay 150 on the money line for a 3-point or a -3. We get to lay $1.10 here. Really, you may have to lay $1.20. Depends on the book, depends on your shop, your store, and what their number is right now. But for the most part, it's a pick or +1. And the Lions are not the team to be backing this weekend. The Jets are in a pretty tough spot, a desperate spot. Not that the Lions aren't. Lions really have to win out. They have to win out to be a postseason participant, to make the bracket. And the Jets are much in the same situation. The problem with the Jets is that the AFC, top end of the AFC, is a little bit tougher, a little different animal than the top end of the NFC. So that said, Goff's not going to be as good as he's been. The Jets' defense is going to be better than what he's faced during this little 6-game stretch. And the fact that we're getting this at no juice, at a pick'em, at a -110 money line or a -120 money line is all I need to push in across the sportsbook counter and back the New York Jets, no Joe Namath, but we're going to still back the New York Jets. Now, as I always say, I don't take a cigarette break or tequila break. We go right into fade number 2. Now, remember, first fade, Detroit Lions. Fade number 2 is the Chicago Bears. And since the Bears traded away a couple of their 2 best defensive players, since they've traded away their 2 best defensive players, they have surrendered over 30 points per game to their opponents. Philadelphia is the best offense, the most efficient offense. Their metrics, the top offense, passing, running, overall, the best in the NFC. They're coming off a game against the Giants that should have been. It's a tell. It's a tell that it's hard to fade Hurts at this point in time. You can't say he's been fortunate, or that that the Eagles have not faced the challenges that some of the other teams have. Listen, Philadelphia has no reason to apologize for the schedule. The schedule is what it is. It's made out. Some years are better than others. And it's where the cards fall. It's just the way it is. So do you discount the Eagles? Do you say Hurts isn't worthy of an MVP, which I think I was just talking to producer, director Chris Allen before the show, and he has a future on Hurts and a pretty nice payoff at that. I think right now your two MVP candidates are probably Hurts and Mahomes, and the Chiefs aren't going to have to win. They have a 3-game lead now. Obviously, they're playing for that number 1 seed in the AFC. That's what they're shooting for. They want to win, but they're not going to show a bunch. They're not going to try to cover. That's Andy Reid late in the season. He didn't care about covering. He's sorry that he didn't cover for you. He'll tell you that. They didn't win by 9 and only won by 7. But we all have choices in life, and if you're going to be back in the Chiefs, know that Andy's not going to help us. Mahomes will, but Andy won't help us. Back to the Chicago Bears. I don't have to sell this phrase. This is not a hard sell. This game is going to be in Chicago, right? I've been doing so many games today. I'm a little bit confused, but long story short on that is -9, -10 probably at game time. And this game may even sneak over. It may even creep over, and you may have to lay a hook on that pseudo key number or semi key number of 10. And Hurts is going to throw 3 touchdown passes. When he throws 3 touchdown passes, what happens, guys? He joins Cam Newton, 2015. He joins Kyler Murray, 2020. Become only the 3rd quarterback in NFL history with at least 25 passing touchdowns and 10 rushing touchdowns in one season. Hurts, this isn't chopped liver, guys. He's no joke. He's been ridiculed. He's been critiqued. He has had his seasons, has some poor seasons, but it really helps to have a cast of characters around you that are skilled. Skill sets around him is elite. Have a great defense, can stop the pass, and they are in line to absolutely take this Bears team to task, and I don't think they're going to let their foot off the gas. Why? They've had a couple close calls. If you remember, some of those close calls, Jacksonville, et cetera, a couple, 3 weeks ago. They don't want to lose. They can't lose. They want that number 1 seed. And they, at this point in time, they'll get past the Bears with no problem. We'll see them in Dallas very soon. And that goal will be to destroy, at all costs, embarrass the Dallas Cowboys. They don't want that chip balanced and comfortable on the Cowboys' shoulder. I'm Tony Finn. This is Fade It with Finn. I'm glad you stopped by, spent a little time, offered your Christmas gift to me or gifted me some of that time. I look forward to seeing you next week. Again, thanks to Chris Allen, who is a super director, producer, and some of the other things that we'll leave for another show. I'm Tony Finn. I look forward to being back here next week and doing Fade It with Finn. So until next week.